All right. Shalom, Israel. With the Israelite School Universal Practical Knowledge. Started at 1 West 123rd Street, Harlem, New York, under Commander General Yohana. We're not affiliated with any other Israelite group nor any other Christian organization. So tonight's class is the Lashawan Qadash class. The Hebrew class is something very, very important. You want to know this Lashawan Qadash because it's a part of your culture, it's a part of your heritage. Like, this is who we are as so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Like, no one would have believed and no one would have known that we actually had a language of our own and we had a culture and a heritage of our own. And just by the simple fact of learning your own language helps you separate from other nations and races of people. Like, it's so important for Black people to realize that we need to separate ourselves on a certain level. All right, we're not telling anyone to go ahead and commit violence against another nation of people. No one is telling anyone to go on terrorist attacks against other nations and races of people. That's not what we teach. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is learning how to separate ourselves from other nations of people so we can have our own identity. So we'll be able to go through life knowing who we are and what we're supposed to do. Every other nation and race of people has their own language, has their own dress code, has their own morals, and has their own code of conduct. Every other nation of people have that except for Blacks and Latinos, except for Native Americans. It's time for us to come back to the culture that God wants us to have. And before we spoke English, before our language was infiltrated with vowels and all of this type of stuff, we spoke the Lashawan Qadash. We spoke the Hebrew. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get the alphabet on the board. So lately we've been going over grammar. All right, Hebrew grammar. The reason why grammar is so important because it's going to help you read the Bible. It's going to help you read these scriptures within the Hebrew. Like, you want to learn how to read Hebrew. You want to learn how to speak Hebrew and write Hebrew. You want to be able to learn how to do all of these things. Because when you are not able to, you're not going to be able to consider yourself some Jew or some Israelite. You're not going to be able to do that. Like, you're trying to take on an identity. Of course, it's yours. That is absolutely your identity. It's our identity. To be an Israelite and to be a Jew is absolutely our identity. All right? But we want to be able to prove to the entire earth that we are the Israelites. And it can start by simply learning the language, by learning the Hebrew, Lashawan Qadash, all right? It can start there. That would wow everybody. Now, of course, the everybody I'm referring to is other Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, of course, naturally. So we're gonna get that. We're gonna get the alphabet on the board. All right. Hold on. Let's see. Okay, the marker so you guys can see. If you guys have any questions too, you guys can put them into the live chat. what we have on the board is the alphabet. All right. So this is what the alphabet looks like in the Lashawan Qadash. All right. This is the Hebrew alphabet. All right. Right here. So you have your ah, your ba, your ga, your da, your ha, your wa, your za, your ha, your ta, your ya, your ka, your la, your ma, your na, your sa, your I, your pa, to za, your qua, your ra, your sha, and your tha. Now the reason why the Hebrew alphabet is so important, because in our language, our alphabet is the exact pronunciation, all right, of the words that you're going to eventually create. And then once you are able to create those words, then we're going to be able to create sentences and structure sentences. Like the reason why the Hebrew language is such an easy language because it's a consonant language, meaning all of our letters have a similar sound. Unlike the English language, all right, when we put certain letters together, we don't get different sounds. All right. Our language is a consonant language, meaning all of the majority of our letters have similar sounds. And that similar sound is a ah sound, beginning with the letter ah. All right, which you can see it almost looks like an A, just sideways. All right, so you have your ah, your ba, your ga, your da, your ha, your wa, your za, your ha, your ta, your ya, your ka, your la, your ma, your na, your sa, your I, your pa, your taza, kra, ra, sha, your ta. All right. Make sure you guys had it. Now that's just the basics, all right? So today we're gonna revisit art. But before we revisit art, right, when it comes to structuring sentences, all right, before we revisit that, I'm gonna give you guys some Hebrew prefixes, all right? All right, when it comes to structuring sentences, you're gonna want to know some of these Hebrew prefixes. Now, what's a Hebrew prefix? All right, a Hebrew prefix is a letter that comes before a letter. I mean, a letter that that comes before a word, like something that's in front of a word. I should just say that. So prefix is something that comes before a word. Okay, because pre meaning before, right? So it's coming in front of a word. Then suffixes are some things that come behind a word. And you want to pay very close attention to Hebrew prefixes and Hebrew suffixes, all right? You want to pay very close attention to that. So real quick, when it comes to the Hebrew grammar, we're going to go ahead and focus on different Hebrew prefixes that are very important for us to understand when it comes to the creation and the structure of sentences within the Lashawan Qadash, all right? You want to know these? You want to know these Hebrew prefixes? All right. So I'm gonna just label Hebrew prefixes. All right. All right. So we're gonna go over Hebrew prefixes. All right. I'm gonna write them on the board. All right. Now remember, something that you also want to remember, prefixes are always attached. Right? They're never going to be by themselves, all right? Okay, so these are just a little bit of Hebrew prefixes on the board. So you got your ya. So this is your ya. This is what a ya looks like in the Hebrew. Pronounced as ya. All right, ya. Ya is he. All right. So you may say this a lot. This is only found in front of a verb. So if you see a ya that's attached to a verb, all right, like for example, you see, all right, yamar. You see this? Ya, amar. This ya means he. Amar meaning said. Alright? So for an example, you see Ya Amar, meaning he said. Ya Amar, meaning he said. Right? That's just an example. Alright? Let's say if it said Ya's the car. Ya the car. Right? Ya's the car. This means you're he. The car meaning remember. Right? The car meaning remember. So you have Ya's the car, right? Ya's the car. Ya's the car meaning he. The car meaning remember. Meaning he remembered. Right? Ya's the car. He remembered or he remembers. All right? That's how you would use the ya as a prefix. All right? I have one more prefix to put on the board, but I'm going to use it to teach something else. Next, you have Yawah. So Yawah, this is what Yawah looks like. This is Yawah. Wa meaning and. So Yawah is your and, right? So for an example, if you want to say Let me see. Let's say, you know what? So it says and. See this? So what? Meaning and. Then you have Yaha. All right. Let me get on the other side so you guys can see. So your what is your and. All right. Because I'm gonna use wa and ha in the same example. So this is your wa. This is how it's written in the English. Wa meaning and in the Hebrew. Then you have Yaha. This is what Yaha looks like in the English, meaning the. All right. So what is and? Ha is the. So as an example, let's say and the book. If I want to say and the book, right? It will look remote. It will look remotely like this. You have your wa, then you have your ha, then you have your sapar. Then you have your sapar. Now you see how these are not separated, right? You see how? Let me get on the other side so I'm not blocking. So you see how this says wahasapar, wahasapar, right? It says wahasapar. All right. If you notice, this is how most prefixes are. Prefixes are never going to be separated from the actual word that you want to use it in conjunction with. Prefixes will never be separated from the word that you're trying to use it in conjunction with. Whatever word that you're using it in conjunction with, these prefixes are going to be attached to this word, and that's why they're called prefixes, all right? So you have your wa and your ha, wa ha sapar, all right? Now remember, you see how these are attached, all right? So now, of course, this means and, this means the, and this means book. So now you see on the board, wahasapar meaning and the book. And the book. So this is an example of how you would use Hebrew prefixes, wahasapar, and the book. And the book. All right. Hebrew grammar is something very important to learn and to know. This is grammar. You want to be able to be grammatically accurate when it comes to speaking the Hebrew. Wahasapar and the book. Wahasapar and the book. All right. Then you have your prefix, your ma, right? Now you have your ma. Let me see. One second. Leave it from. All right, Salakia. We back on track. Okay, so what we got going on? We got our Hebrew prefixes. All right. So next one we have is Yamah. Yamah meaning from. So you can use this at any time when you want to say you are from somewhere. All right. If you are from somewhere, this is Yamah meaning you're from somewhere. You know. So Ma meaning from. All right. So we want to say I'm from. Let me see. I'm trying to see what would be a good example. I don't want to say from the city because then I would have to say Mazah. I guess I can say that. So let's say I'm trying to say from Jerusalem. All right. Let's say I'm gonna say from Jerusalem, right? Yeah. You would write your ma. So like I may have grabbed the wrong marker. This is the one that gave up the ghost. I don't need this marker. My marker gave up the ghost. I need the other marker. All right, here you go. So you got your ma. Oh my God, Sean's dead. So this is your ma. And then let's say Jerusalem. Yeah. Yerushalayim. I like it. Let me get this correct spelling of Jerusalem. I believe there's a Y in there. And I think I just gotta remember where to put it at. Yeah, Yerushalayim. That's why. So this right here meaning from. Then you have Jerusalem. Jerusalem. So from Jerusalem. All right. From Jerusalem. That's how you would use that. All right. Here we go. Then you have other prefixes like your ka. So like your ka, and your sha. All right. So ka and your sha. Your sha, your ka and your sha. All right, meaning like or as. Ka and your sha meaning like the as. All right. That's your ka. All right. In kind, yashar, prefixes, Hebrew prefixes for like or as. At times, they're very interchangeable. All right. Then you have this one right here. Then you have Yala. You have Yala, which means two. Now we're going to focus on this prefix two as well. All right, this is all grammar. All right, Yala meaning two, like to something. All right, like to them, to her, to him, and things like that. To me, all that type of stuff. All right. Let's get it. Now we're going to label this as so. What we have next, what we're going to go over. All right. What we are going to go over next are Hebrew prefixes with object pronouns. All right. Hebrew prefixes with object pronouns. Now, this is something that you're going to encounter when reading the Hebrew. All right. Now, of course, you want to learn how. Once you learn how to read the Hebrew, you're going to be able to speak the Hebrew a lot more, just grammatically correct. You're going to be able to speak the Hebrew grammatically correct the more you learn about the grammar that comes with writing and reading the Lashawan Qadash. All right. That's why we always tell brothers and sisters, you want to read the Bible. Read and read and read the Bible. Do not run away. All right. Do not run away from reading the Lashawan Qadash and reading the Bible. You do not want to do any of that. You don't want to do it. Don't do any of those things. All right? Not at all. And so we're going to get some. So now you have different type of object pronouns. All right? You guys remember them? You have your ya. Well, to make it just a little bit more simpler, I'm going to write it with. All right. So you have laya. All right. So let's get it. So you have your laya, which is to me. All right. Because remember that ya is an object pronoun for me. So what we have on the board so far, I think I can fit a little bit more. All right. So now we have Hebrew prefixes, all right, in conjunction with object pronouns. Now, object pronoun is like your me, your you, your him, your her, your us, your y'all, your them. Like those are all examples of object pronouns. Now, of course, in order to use any of these, regardless if there's a Hebrew prefix it or it's like it, if there's going to be a Hebrew prefix with it, there's always going to be a verb right before it. All right, because most object pronouns are using conjunction with what? With verbs. Object pronouns are always in conjunction with verbs, just like possessive pronouns are in conjunction with nouns. Well, if you're going to use a Hebrew prefix in conjunction with object pronouns, all right, here you go. So the Hebrew prefix we're using this example that you see on the board is la. Your la is a Hebrew prefix, all right, in this case, all right. So you have your laya, which is to me. You have your laka, which is to you. You have your lawa, which is your to him. This is your laha, which means to her. This is your lanawa, meaning to us. Then you have your lakam, which is to y'all in the masculine form. All right. Then you have your lakan, which is to y'all in the feminine form. All right. So you have your laya, your laka, your lawa, your laha, your lanawa, your lakam, your lakan. All right. This is how you would use Hebrew prefixes in conjunction with object pronouns. All right. We'll get over here. The same thing. So we can finish it out. Well, I may not have enough room to write all of that. Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know what's wrong with Josiah. He is crying. It's next to his diaper.
Okay.
He got leave it.
Give me a second, because I'm in class, right?
Okay.
All right. So now, what we have next, we're going to finish off real quick. Next, you got your lama. And you have your lana. Lama. Then you have lana, which means to them. Masculine form, to them. Feminine form. All right? So you have lama. Right? You have lama and lana. Right? So lama meaning to them, lana also meaning to them. The only difference is one is masculine, one is in its masculine or position of authority form, and one is in the feminine or the subservient form. All right, so your lama or your lana to them, all right? All right. Now we're going to also get, before we continue, Well, not quite. Now, we went over Hebrew prefixes, all right? All right. We went over we went over the Hebrew prefixes because this is what's going to help us understand, all right? It's going to help us understand and revisit the topic of how to use ah. All right, you want to learn how to use the word ah. All right, well, it's not a word, it's a locutor. All right. But opt allows you opt allows you, all right, or opt lets you know what the sentence is doing, all right. Meaning what? Opt is going to let you know what's being done, right? What the verb is talking about, what the verb is referring to, and the reason why. Now, what's so important about this, right? And what's so important about it, all right? The reason why we went over these Hebrew prefixes is because where we left off, all right, dealt with how to use ah with object pronouns and a little bit with Hebrew prefixes, right? So now, well, not so much. So last week in class, we got Genesis chapter 1 and 1. And it showed you how we used a Hebrew prefix wa with the word af in the Hebrew, which helps you identify what the verb is doing to whichever object. Okay? And that object will be the direct object. All right? We want to know what's being done to the direct object in a sentence. And you're going to have to know what a direct object is. All right? A direct object is any person, place, or thing. All right? That's a direct object. Or anything like, if this is saying this is the rock, that's a direct object. If your name is Yarash and whatever the case, that's a direct object. All right? You want to know what the direct object is. And if you're talking about an indirect object, then the word off is no longer needed within your sentence. But if you are referring to a direct object, all right, you want to properly structure that sentence so everyone can understand what is being done within the sentence you are trying to structure. And within those sentences that we were structuring, there were Hebrew prefixes. And now also, they were also being used in conjunction, all right, in conjunction with object pronouns, all right. So today, all right, we know what we went over what object pronouns are. We also went over what Hebrew prefixes are. Now we know what af is. Now we need to know how to properly use, all right, how to properly use, let me see, af with object pronouns, okay. Make sure if you guys have any questions, put into the live chat, over for sure. Now remember, also, object pronouns. So let's say object pronouns. Now remember, object pronouns are always going to be used in conjunction with a verb. So meaning, so in this case, an object pronoun, all right, is always going to be used in conjunction with a verb. Meaning, in order for you to get an object pronoun within a sentence, a verb has to be used. Some in some way, form, and fashion. In some way, form, and fashion, there has to be a verb there in order for you to have a object pronoun there. Just like in order for you to have a possessive pronoun, you're going to have a noun there. You can't have one without the other. It's not going to make any sense. So I'm going to give you a list of what object pronouns would look like with I. And you've probably seen this in the scriptures before. Okay. Okay, so this is what we have on the board so far. So you have afya, afka, afwa, afha, afnawa. All right. So when it comes to using af, remember af is allowing you to understand what is the object pronoun. Okay. So an object pronoun, okay, if you did not know, an object pronoun or any kind of pronoun is a direct object in a sentence. Okay. So an object pronoun being used in conjunction with a verb, you want to know what this verb is being directed to. And because you want to know what this verb is being directed to, all right, this object, so to speak, is not a indirect object. This is talking about this is a direct object. An object pronoun is a direct object. So because an object pronoun is a direct object and of is being used, this is how you would use of properly with the few object pronouns that we have on the board. So you have of ya, which is me. Then you have of ka, which is you. Then you have of wa, which is him. Then you have of ha, which is her. You have of nawa, which is us. Like this is how you would use object pronouns, all right? I mean the letter "a" in conjunction, all right, with object pronouns. Because that right there explains how to properly use "a," okay, in conjunction with object pronouns. All right? Okay, so these are just a few examples. All right, we're going to get a few more. All right, so remember, author is also used in conjunction with object pronouns. All right, there's different names for them. You got proper nouns. All right, a proper noun could be a possessive pronoun, object pronoun. All right, but these are the most common are object pronouns and possessive pronouns. That's being very specific. And object pronouns are always in conjunction with a verb. And because of is always used with verbs to let you know what's being done to what, all right, when it only comes to direct objects, you want to pay very close attention to it, all right? So let's get the rest on the board. Now what you have on the board are the rest of the object pronouns being used in conjunction with the word af. So you have afkam, afkan, afma, and afna. Now remember, an object pronoun is a direct object. You only use af in conjunction with direct objects. A direct object is like a object pronoun, a person, place, a thing. All right, something that's direct. All right, within the sentence. All right. So keep that in mind. Now remember, of is only used with direct objects, all right? A direct object, all right, by definition, is a word or phrase denoting the receiver of the action of a verb, meaning this is what the verb is doing to whatever is being done to. So it's either a word or phrase denoting the receiver of the action of a verb. So a direct object, all right, that of is to allow you to identify, all right, what the verb is doing to whatever it is within that sentence. All right. A word or phrase denoting the receiver of the action of a verb. All right. So object pronouns can be direct objects, names can be direct objects, cities can be direct objects, something that's the something like this is the book or the rock or the car or the house is not just anyone's house. If I say a house, that's an indirect object, but the house becomes a direct object. If I say a car, that's a indirect object. If I say the car, that has now become a direct object because now I'm specifying on the car. This is the car. It can't be anyone else's. So this is a direct object. So if you're talking to me or you or him and her, us and y'all and them and et cetera, us and things like that, which are object pronouns that are just listed, those being used in conjunction with ah because those are object pronouns. Object pronouns, if there's a object pronouns, are used in conjunction with verbs. So because you are using an object pronoun, meaning a verb has to be there, because object pronouns are direct objects, you're going to have to use the word "ah" so we can identify the direct object. All right, because this is not just an indirect object. If it was an indirect object, then we could get away with it. But because naturally object pronouns are direct objects, you have to use "ah." All right, that's why you see "ah," "afkam," "afkan," "afma," "afna," "afna." This is how you use object pronouns in conjunction with the word I. All right. Very, very, very important to understand. Very. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind right here. Object pronouns in conjunction with I. That's something that we need to know. Now this is all a part of grammar. All right. This is us revisiting this topic to fully understand. Like this is the only way, all right, to use object pronouns, okay, because they are direct. Object pronouns are direct objects within a sentence, okay? So because object pronouns are used in conjunction, all right, in conjunction with verbs, this is how you would write it. Now, of course, in previous classes, to understand the basics, in order to understand the basics of, you know, object pronouns being used with verbs, okay, we didn't have off there, okay, okay, we didn't have off there, just so we can practice. Like if I say, give me, if I'm asking you to give me the car, right? If I wanted you to give me, of course, in the past we would say Nathanya, um, Nathanya Hamavaka, give me the car, all right? That was to understand the principle and the concept of how to structure sentences. Now we're working on how to grammatically structure sentences. So if I wanted to say the same thing, give me the car, I would say Nawathan Atma Atma Mavaka. It's like ah Hamaraka. Hamaraka. So I would literally say, all right, because there's two direct objects within that sentence. I'm not telling you to give me any car. I'm asking you to give me the car. Meaning I don't need you to give me any car. Give me the car. So I'm gonna be using twice. I'm gonna be using in conjunction with the object pronoun. All right. So I would say Nawathan ma ah ha mavaka. All right. Now remember, to grammatically structure sentences is something very important, all right? Remember, everything is about baby steps. It's all about baby steps. Baby steps, baby steps, baby steps, all right? So now we're starting to get into advanced lessons into learning how to structure sentences within the Lashawan Qadash within the Hebrew, all right? All right? Something very important to know and understand, all right? All right. So on the board, I'm gonna give an example. All right. I'm gonna try to make it as neat as possible. All right. So if I keep erasing, it's because I want everything to look neat and legible, so everyone can understand the example I'm gonna give on the board. All right. All right, so here we go. So as an example, what we have on the board is Nawatana Ma Khadaya. All right, Khadaya. All right, so Nawatan Asma Khadaya. So let's break it down. You have Nawatan. Nawatan is the present tense, all right? So Nawatan is how you would say give, to give, but written in the present tense. Now the rules of the present tense is there's a Y that goes between the first and second letter. All right, so I'm the one talking, saying give. All right, so Nawatan. All right, so I'm talking to somebody. So this conjugation is based off of the subject pronoun you, by the way. So this is a verb conjugation based off of the subject pronoun you. So you have Nawatan Asma. Your Asma, right? This is a object pronoun with ah, all right? And that object pronoun is them. That object pronoun is them. Because remember, ma is the object pronoun them. So Nawatan Asma, meaning give them, meaning you, give them. Khadar. Khadar is how you would say room. All right? Khadar is how you would say room in Hebrew. So if you guys did not know how to say room in Hebrew, here you go. All right, Khadar is room. And so when you put that ya behind Khadar and put together as Khadar ya, that becomes my room. So I'm telling someone, Navatanya Asma Khadar ya, meaning give them my room. Give them my room. Now remember that af has to be used in conjunction with Allah, the way it's being used, because that has become a direct object. I want you to give them. All right, that them is a direct object. So I want you to give them my room. All right? All right? So my room. All right? That ya is the possessive pronoun for my. Khadaya, my room. So Nawatan Asma Khadaya. Nawatan Asma Khadaya. Give them my room. Nawatan Asma. Nawatan Asma Khadaya. Give them my room. So this is how you would properly use af within a sentence, all right, in conjunction with a object pronoun. All right? All right.
No. No.
All right. So this is what we have on the board. All right. So with that, I say Amadi, which means to stand. We're going to give a courage salute to the brothers, men of Israel, Amadim Shabbat, Amadi, Barak, Yahweh Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shabbat, Yana Matah, Saul, Al-Wakin, which means turn and face the sisters, men of Israel. We're going to give a courage salute to the sisters, men of Israel, Amadim Shabbat, Amadi, Barak, Yahweh Shamar, Al-Than, Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shai, Yana Matah. With that, class dismissed.